Hi, it's Sue. Thanks for joining me for today's Bible reading. It is for April 23rd, and I'm reading 2 Kings 6 through 8. The sons of the prophets said to Elisha, "See now, the place where we live and meet with you is too small for us. Please let us go to the Jordan, and each man take a beam from there, and let us make a place there where we may live." He answered, "Go." One said, "Please be pleased to go with your servants." He answered, "I will go." So he went with them. When they came to Jordan, they cut down wood, but as one was cutting down a tree, the axe head fell in the water. Then he cried and said, "Alas, my master, for it was borrowed." The man of God asked, "Where did it fall?" He showed him, and he cut down a stick, threw it in there, and made the iron float. He said, "Take it." So he put out his hand and took it. Now the king of Syria, wait, let me stop right there. So that's interesting because remember the other day, or two times recently, put it that way, without going into all the details of the story, there was water that was bad, that it was either Elijah or Elisha put something in and it turned okay to drink. There was a pot of meal that was bad and they put something in and it turned okay from not poison anymore to not being poison anymore. And here he just simply threw a stick in and it solved the problem, made the axe head float. So what is that all about? What do you think about that? Was he just obeying? Was it his act of obedience? His act of faith that caused that? It's really interesting. All right, so it says, verse 8, "Now the king of Syria was at war against Israel, and he took counsel with his servants, saying, 'My camp will be in such and such a place.' The man of God sent to the king of Israel, saying, 'Beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are coming down there.' The king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him and warned him of, and saved himself there not once or twice." So now the king's going to wonder, like, how did Elisha know that? So it says, "The king of Syria's heart was very troubled about this. He called about his servants and said to them, 'Won't you show me which of us is for the king of Israel?'" In other words, which one's the spy, the traitor? One of his servants said, "No, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet, who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." So, um, so the king of Syria makes these plans, and Elisha tells the king of Israel that they're plotting against them. I'm pretty sure that's something that's happened with Israel all through the ages, even to today. There are stories like that. Um, so interesting. So very interesting. So it says, "No, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet who is in Israel tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." He said, "Go and see where he is, that I may send and get him." He was told, "Behold, he is in Dothan." Therefore he sent horses, chariots, and a great army there. They came by night and surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God had risen early and gone out, behold, an army with horses and chariots were around the city. His servant said to him, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" He answered, "Don't be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Elisha prayed and said, "Yahweh, please open his eyes that he may see." Yahweh opened the young man's eyes, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire around Elisha. When they came down to him, excuse me, Elisha prayed to Yahweh and said, "Please strike this people with blindness." He struck them with blindness according to Elisha's word. Elisha said to them, "This is not the way, neither is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek." He led them to Samaria. When they had come, Samaria is the capital of Israel, so he's taken them to Israel. When they had come into Samaria, Elisha said, "Yahweh, open these men's eyes that they may see." Yahweh opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the middle of Samaria. The king of Israel said to Elisha, when he saw them, "My father, shall I strike them? Shall I strike them?" He answered, "You shall not strike them. Would you strike those whom you have taken captive with your sword and with your bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master." He prepared great feasts for them. It doesn't say a great feast, it just says great feast. It's another commentary on this translation. He prepared great feasts for them. When they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syria stopped raiding the land of Israel. After this, Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered his army and went up and besieged Samaria. There was a great famine in Samaria. Behold, they besieged it until a donkey's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a cob of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver. As the king of Israel was passing by on the wall, a woman cried to him, saying, "Help my lord, O king." This is so sad. So they have a siege on the city, so they can't bring food in or out. They can't go out to get food and bring it in, put it that way. So it says, the king of Israel was passing by on the wall. A woman cried to him, saying, "Help my lord, O king." He said, "If Yahweh doesn't help you, where could I get help for you? From the threshing floor or from the winepress?" The king said to her, "What is your problem?" She answered, "This woman said to me, 'Give your son that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow.' So we boiled my son and ate him. And I said to her on the next day, 'Give your son that we may eat him.' And she has hidden her son." When the king heard the words of the woman, he tore his clothes. Now he was passing by on the wall, and the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth under his body. Then he said, "God do so to me, and more also, if the head of Elisha, the son of Shaphat, stays on him today." But Elisha was sitting in his house, and the elders were sitting with him. Then the king sent a man from before him, but before the messenger came to him, he said to the elders, "Do you see how this son of a murderer has sent to take away my head? Behold, when the messenger comes, shut the door and hold the door shut against him. Isn't it the sound of his master's feet behind him?" While he was still talking with them, behold, the messenger came down to him. Then he said, "Behold, this evil is from Yahweh. Why should I wait for Yahweh any longer?" Elisha said, "Hear Yahweh's word. Yahweh says, tomorrow about this time, a seah of fine flour will be sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria." Then the captain on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God and said, "Behold, if Yahweh made windows in heaven, could this thing be?" He said, "Behold, you will see it for your eyes, but will not eat it." So Syria is sieging Israel. The king is desperate. The people obviously are desperate. These women boiling their babies. For some reason, the king wants to take it out on Elisha. But now Elisha's prophesying that it's going to turn around on a dime. And the king doesn't believe him. And he says, "Oh, it'll happen, but you won't see it. You won't be able to partake of it." So he says, "Behold," well, let me back up. So the captain on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God and said, "Behold, if Yahweh," oh, so it was the captain that doubted. He said, "Behold, if Yahweh made windows in heaven, could this thing be?" In other words, it's impossible. He said, "Behold, you will see it with your eyes, but will not eat of it." Now there were 4 leprous men at the entrance of the gate. They said to one another, "Why do we sit here until we die? If we say we will enter the city, then the famine is in the city, and we will die there. If we sit here, we'll also die. Now therefore come and let us surrender to the army of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we will live, and if they kill us, we will only die." They rose up in the twilight to go to the camp of the Syrians. When they had come to the outermost part of the camp of the Syrians, behold, no man was there. For the Lord had made the army of the Syrians to hear a sound of chariots and the sound of horses, even the noise of a great army. And they said to one another, "Behold, the king of Israel has hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to attack us." Therefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their donkeys, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. When these lepers came to the outermost part of the camp, they went in one tent, and ate and drank, and carried away silver, gold, and clothing, and went and hid it. Then they came back and entered into another tent, and carried things from there also, and went and hid them. Then they said to one another, "We aren't doing right. Today is a day of good news, and we keep silent. If we wait until morning light, punishment will overtake us. Now therefore come, let's go and tell the king's household." So they came and called to the city gatekeepers and told them, "We came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, not even a man's voice, but the horses tied and the donkeys tied and the tents as they were." He called the gatekeepers, and they told it to the king's household within. The king arose in the night and said to his servants, "I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we are hungry. Therefore they are gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the fields, saying, 'When they come out of the city, we shall take them alive and get into the city.'" One of the servants answered, "Please let some people take 5 of the horses that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are all like all the multitude of Israel who are left in it. Behold, uh, they are all like the multitude of Israel who are consumed. Let us send and see." Therefore they took 2 chariots with horses, and the king sent them out to the Syrian army, saying, "Go and see." So, in other words, he still doubted. They're like, "Please let us go and check anyway, because we're just going to die. Let's see if it's true." So it says, they went after them to the Jordan, and behold, all the path was full of garments and equipment, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. The messengers returned and told the king. The people went out and plundered the camp of the Syrians. So a seah of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to Yahweh's word. The king appointed the captain on whose hand he leaned to be in charge of the gate. And the people trampled over him in the gate, and he died, as the man of God had said, who spoke when the king came down to him. It happened as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, and a seah of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that captain answered, the man of God said, Now behold, if Yahweh make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, Behold, you will see it with your eyes, but will not eat of it. It happened like that to him, for the people trampled over him in the gate, and he died. Now Elisha had spoken to the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, Arise, go you and your household, and stay for a while wherever you can, for Yahweh has called for a famine. It will also come on the land for 7 years. Now you notice, and again, I put these things out there kind of like questions, because I'm not trying to make this a teaching, a Bible study. I want it to be more like thought-provoking, things that we can ruminate over about the word here, to kind of broaden our perspective. Okay. But do you notice that he brought a famine? It was from Yahweh that he allowed this pressure to come on the people, and even death. And yet he warned Elisha, and he warned this woman. He took care of them during the famine. So those that had ears to hear and eyes to see, and were listening, and were, seeking Yahweh and following his ways, he took care of them even in the midst of this war and famine, the destruction, these cycles that come through the earth inevitably during this time of, the fall. So let's go back to this. This is the beginning of chapter 8, the last chapter for today's reading. Now Elijah had spoken to the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, Arise and go, you and your household, and stay for a while wherever you can, for Yahweh has called a famine. It will also come on the land for 7 years. The woman arose and did according to the man of God's word. She went with her household and lived in the land of the Philistines for 7 years. At the end of 7 years, the woman returned from the land of the Philistines. Then she went out to beg the king for her house and for her land. You know, it's so funny too, if I may stop and observe some more, or share this observation. This part of the narrative is written so well and easy to follow, where other ones have these stunted sentences and unclear pronouns and rough transitions. This one's like so logical and sequential. It says things like, then she went out, it's just written well, and you can understand and follow the story. I don't get why the whole thing's not written that way. So it says, at the end of 7 years, the woman returned from the land of the Philistines. Then she went out to beg the king for her house and for her land. Now the king was talking with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, Please tell me all the great things that Elisha has done. As he was telling the king how he had restored to life him who was dead, behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life begged the king for her house and for her land. Gehazi said, My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son whom Elijah restored to life. How much is that, God? They just happen to be talking about it, and here she comes. Perfect timing. See how God is taking care of this woman, this precious woman? So he says, this is that woman. So the king appointed to her a certain officer, saying, Restore all that was hers and all the fruits of her field since the day that she left the land, even until now. Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick. He was told, The man of God has come here. The king said to Hazael, Take a present in your hand and go and meet the man of God and inquire of Yahweh by him, saying, Will I recover from this sickness? So Hazael went to meet him and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels burden, and came and stood before him and said, Wow, your son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, has sent me to you, saying, Will I recover from the sickness? So isn't that interesting that now the king of Syria is coming to Elisha. So Elisha, it seems, came before not just the kings of Israel and Judah, but I assume Judah too, but also the king of Syria. So he ran in these high political circles, almost like an ambassador, right? So backing up here. Benhadad, the king of Syria, was sick. He was told, the man of God has come here. The king said to Hazael, take a present with you. And let me go forward. So they brought 40 camels worth of burden. And he said, your son Benhadad, king of Syria, has sent me to you, saying, will I recover from this sickness? Elisha said to him, go tell him you will surely recover. However, Yahweh has shown me that he will surely die. He settled his gaze steadfastly on him until he was ashamed. Then the man of God wept. Hazael said, why do you weep, my lord? He answered, because I know the evil that you will do to the children of Israel. You will set their strongholds on fire, and you will kill their young men with the sword, and will dash the little ones in pieces and rip up their pregnant women. So what is happening here? As he's giving this word to Hazael about the king, first of all, he tells him, tell him he won't die, but he's going to die. And then he stands there staring, as I assume he's having some kind of a vision, and he sees. So he suddenly sees, as this anointing comes on him, he sees this terrible tragedy that Hazael will be involved in. Wow. And he starts crying because of it, like overcome. People just don't do that naturally. You know what I mean? Just a total like intervention of the Lord here. So he says, tells Hazael what he will do, the evil you will do to the children of Israel. And Hazael says, but what is your servant? Who is but a dog that he could do this great thing? He's like, I'm nobody. How could I do that? Excuse me. Elisha answered, Yahweh has shown me that you will be king over Syria. Then he departed from Elisha and came to his master, who said to him, what did Elisha say to you? He answered, he told me that you would surely recover. On the next day he took a thick cloth, dipped in water, and spread it on his face so that he died. Then Hazael reigned in his place. In the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being king of Judah then. Okay, so Joram, the son of Ahab, during the reign of Jehoshaphat in Judah. So you're going to have Joram in the north in Israel, Jehoshaphat in the south in Judah. He was 32 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as did Ahab's house, for he married Ahab's daughter. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. However, Yahweh would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him a lamb for his children always. He's preserving that messianic line, right? So he's got to have somebody in David's line there. So it says, that's if I understand that correctly, and I believe I do. In his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah and made a king over themselves. Then Joram passed over to Zaire and all his chariots with him, and he rose up by night and struck the Edomites who surrounded him, and the captains of the chariots and of the people fled to their tents. So Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah to this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. The rest of the acts of Joram and all that he did, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? Joram slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in David's city, and Ahaziah, his son, reigned in his place. In the 12th year of Joram, son of Ahab, king of Israel, Ahaziah, the son of Joram, king of Judah, began to reign. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. He walked in the way of Ahab's house and did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, as did Ahab's house. And when they say evil, they mean evil, pure evil, despicable, unthinkable things. He went with Joram, the son of Ahab, to war against Hazael, king of Syria, at Ramoth-Gilead, and the Syrians wounded Joram. King Joram returned to be healed in Jezreel from the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel because he was sick. And there's a cliffhanger today because it ends right there. So tomorrow we'll pick up with chapters 9 through 11 and see how this saga continues. Till then, God bless you.